it stops, no one knows. We're going headed into the unknown. Na, 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 na.
Hello, hello, hello. What's up, what's up, what's up? Happy Tuesday, everybody. I almost did the 420 again, but I was like, we'll go with the 315. I was actually ready at like 310, but hello, everybody, and welcome back to Criminality. I mean what you say. Hello. Hi, voice says behind the wall. Hi, the lovely Nate D and the Pointer Lover. Hi, Cleveland Rocks. Music City Mom. You guys are having Sloppy Joe's for dinner? I had Sloppy Joe's last night for dinner. Hi, Tony. Hi, Malicious Intent. You didn't get your notification? Well, hopefully people do. Hi, Booshi. Oh, homemade lasagna. That's like my favorite. Hi, Crime Story Diva. But I'm not good at making it. Hi, Serendipity. Hi, Water Loving Dog. Hi, the Heathen Coalition. Hi, Petunia. Hi, BG. Hi, Anna. And Miss Bonnie Bailey. Hey, Chrissy. Hey, sexy wild thing, Care Freaking Claws. Let's see who just popped in. Hi, MK. Hi, Miss K. Hey, Catherine. Hey, Todd. Hi, Python Chick. I think we're just going to have tacos. It's Tuesday. So we typically do tacos on Tuesday, some type of taco. Hi, Forget Me Not. Make sure I didn't miss anybody. My rune is gone. I know. Well, you can kind of see it. It's like left a little bit of a scar. I know. I had my own rune for like a few days. Hey, Dumplings Grammy. Hi, anybody that I might have missed up here. I think I see an F. No, I never got the other two parts. Thank gosh. If I did, I would never have been able to talk about the Delphi case ever again. Hi, Muscles and Mascara. Hi, Stephanie. Music, Art, and Love. Having pizza. I do love pizza. Okay, so it's been a couple of days, and like literally, I couldn't go live for like 2 days. Hi, Foxy. Good to see you. I couldn't go live for 2 days, and there was like a whole entire like case that like wrapped up while I was unable to go live. So you guys, I'm sure, all paid attention to the Charlotte. I want to call her Cena, but I guess it's Senna. Hey, Steph the Army vet. It like literally started from my live on Saturday with Bob Mata, which I had a great time having that conversation with him. And by the time that I was even going to talk about it today, it was already done. They already found her last night. Thank God they found her alive. I don't know what color. What color is flashing on my screen? It's weird. But they found her, and I was just, but I followed it as best as I could. A few of my friends were covering it, so it was nice that I was able to listen to them and get all the insight that way. When am I going to do members chats? That's a great question. I'm supposed to be doing them on Wednesday mornings, and I have failed. I have failed miserably at that attempt. I will do it. It's so hard because honestly, like, I appreciate having my members and all of you guys that are members. I really, really do. But it's like, I always feel like everything I'm talking about, like I feel like other people might want to hear it. And I don't know. So I'm like, I got to come up with like a game plan that just like is just for members only. And I know. I will do it. I promise. Hi, Candace. Good to see you. Hey, Richie. I can't believe she was found alive. I hate even saying that, but man, the trauma she's going to go through for so long, possibly forever. I know, but I keep weighing it too, because it's like, but she was alive. I mean, at the end of the day, she still gets to go home. She still gets to be with her parents. Her parents get to be with their daughter. Her sisters get to be with her. She gets to be with her sisters. I don't know. It's so freaking scary. It's so scary. I'm just like, all they did was let her go for a little bike ride at a campsite that they were very familiar with and that she'd already gone around, and all of a sudden that's it. That's all it took. You want to deep dive Delphi? I feel like we've been digging pretty damn deep right now. And so, and there's another case that actually the opening statement started today, and I was going to cover that, but then I just can't there's some of these things in this Delphi stuff that I cannot let go. And then the defense is like digging their nails in. They're like, no, we're not done. We're not quitting. Like we have more. Hi, Penny, and welcome. Oh, from Indiana, close to Delphi. I'd love to hear your insight. But I just can't let this go right now. And I will, I'll once everything kind of settles, I'll kind of calm myself and I'll be able to focus on something else. But I just can't let it go. There's something that happens to me and then I'm like stuck. And until I can at least kind of figure out like an answer that somewhat makes sense for me to go, okay, I can wait for the next thing, like the next questions, the next set of questions. I get stuck and I can't. So between this and with the Barry Morphew stuff, this is like where I've spent my brain energy. Hi, BR. Hey, Judy. J-Bo did a great job today. Okay, good. I'll have to go. I missed everything. Hi, Elsie. Aw, thank you. Hi, Crime Sleuthin. I still think that Holder Westfall is possibly responsible. There's something that's not settling. And so I can't stop looking at it. And I can't stop rereading some of the old documents and listening to the press conferences and just listening for like little things here and there. I do. I actually have it up. Yeah. Well, honestly, BR the Star is the one who came across it like a week ago. And then I ignored her apparently. And then I found it and I was like, hey, look at what I found. And she's like, sorry, miss, I found that like a week ago. Thanks for paying attention. Hi, Amanda. Hi, Ashley. Hey, Catherine. Oh, I already said hi to Catherine. I'm just going to keep saying hi to everybody. Okay. So, one thing that I really wanted to talk about is Todd Click. So just a little mini refresher, because I don't want to go back into the memorandum, but Todd Click was one of the 3 agents. He's the one that used to work in Rushville and was the one that was putting together like the 85-page report that the defense says that they didn't have. If you guys remember, while I was going through all the docs, Todd Click made like a statement after the memorandum was released. And we really kind of heard hi, ATS. We really kind of heard the 2 things that he was like, I want to make sure I get these out there. And the first one was like that Ferenczi actually worked for Terre Haute and was part of the FBI task force. And as we know, Ferenczi is the one who was actually, he was killed a couple of years ago by a guy who like stampeded the gates, and he came out and it was like a whole thing. But so there was the 3. There's Murphy, Click, and Ferenczi. And so Murphy's the one that they refer to as like Honest Murphy. He's Honest Murphy. He's the one who puts together like the Odin report. And then you have Click and Todd. So Todd Click makes this statement. He's like, nope, I wanted to clarify first and foremost that those guys didn't work for Rushville. And I don't think that the memorandum actually states that they do, because we were still reading through it at the time. And what it actually just states is like, that's the Rushville like kind of like the Rushville threesome that are putting together the Rushville connections, but they do actually state where they're from. And then Murphy was with ISP and was also part of the task force. But Click was the one who actually worked in Rushville. So then his second statement was that he wanted to make sure that people knew that law enforcement does not believe that the deaths of Abby and Libby were ritualistic or were part of a ritual sacrifice. And I'm going to play the clip for you guys so you guys can hear it. So here's a couple things that I need you guys to keep in mind. And I don't mean this in any way offensively, but we don't actually hear Todd Click. We hear from a podcast who talked to Todd Click, and we hear them reading what Todd Click told them. And it's really up to the listener or the viewer to determine whether you think it's legit or not. So I'm just going to give you guys the information, and then it's up to you guys to choose whether you think it's true. It's always hard when you're not actually hearing it from the direct person and it's kind of third hand, and I get that. Like I did that with like Candace Wells. Like I had a whole interview with her, but she didn't want to actually like talk live, so I wrote out all my questions and all of her answers, like, and tried to make it that way. But I got it. Like people don't always believe that because you're not hearing it straight from her mouth. You're hearing it from me, who's repeating what she said. So it's completely up to you guys whether you believe that this is what Todd Click said or not. I'm going to play it for you, but the biggest part of this is that this podcast actually, they're a podcast, so they do multiple episodes. This podcast actually does another segment, or whatever you want to refer to it as, that doesn't have Todd Click's name in the title, but they actually address it at the very beginning. And they talk about like it's the rest of what the conversation they had with Todd Click was. This is important to me because what he says here is actually way more relevant than what he said in the first two things. Like his first comment about where the other guys worked. Okay, great. Thank you for clarifying, but I don't think that was as important. So I'm going to play you guys both pieces so you guys can determine what you think of it. And like I said, this is not him speaking, but it is the podcasters. And you guys, if you're familiar with Delphi, the Delphi case, you're probably familiar with the Murder Sheet podcast. So like I said, it's up to you guys as the listeners and the viewers what you choose to believe and to not believe. And I'm okay with that. Like I always tell you guys, your opinions are absolutely relevant, but we won't fight about them. So, I mean, you have a right to any opinion you want. Hi, Rhonda. Hi, Dolly Bear. Hi, Dina. Hi, Ainsley. Try to see anybody that I missed that popped in. So let me pull these up for you guys. I'm going to play both because, like I said, it's from two different ones. So give me a second. I was on the second one. I should have gone back to the first one. Okay, so it's the Murder Sheet podcast, and I'm not going to play you their whole episode. I'm just going to play you the clip that I feel is important for you guys to hear. And then, Rhonda, thank you. Hi, Crazy Mama. Okay. Make sure there's audio. And it's at the 16-minute mark. So this is the first one. This is the comments that were made initially that kind of went like wildfire through anybody who was talking about Delphi and the Delphi docs at the time. Hi, hippie chick. And then, but the other part, but I want to make sure you guys hear both. So if you just let me know that you guys can hear it, and then I'm going to mute.
Whatever, like let's let it play out. I don't really see in Indiana ballistics being thrown out. I don't really see it like on its face. But I also can see a really good defense expert coming in and cast.
Okay, you can hear it. Okay. Well, I should finish saying it's not a very long part of the segment, but like I said, I'm going to play this part so you guys actually hear where it came from and the source of the information as it was kind of widespread. Like I said, it spread like wildfire while we were all going through the documents. So here you go.
Doubt on it. I think that is most likely. But this is more about like attacking it on its, okay, we want to get the gun thrown out by attacking the search warrant itself. You never should have gotten that gun.
There are hints in here of another possible attack on this evidence, ballistics evidence from on so many.
What the underlying facts are. If he can point to and say, this is not true, this is not how it went down.
For anything in a
see it like on its face. Okay, so if we want to get the gun thrown out by attacking
ballistics evidence from on so many
Okay, so
different fronts,
really wrote down the time.
just shows how important it is to the defense to get rid of this bullet evidence.
Yeah, so I don't think there is anything else damning that they need to have found. I mean, there could be that we just don't know about, but
in this case,
if it was
proved to be the beginning of the end of the case against Richard Allen.
A lot of things get excused with defense attorneys if they are in the service of Charles Manson, Odinus. And
I swear I wrote
run
down
with that because that's a huge part of what they're saying.
I wrote down the wrong time.
And they're saying that, in my view, they're pointing a finger at these men. Maria asks,
in the course of defense,
they are stating outright that Abby and Libby were murdered. Think that these people are done. And the voir dire kind of revealed that. And I had such respect for them because they weren't like sitting around following everything in crime, but they were able to still come to a decision together based on the evidence. And that's what ultimately it's all about. So, we love you, true crime people. We're the same way. We will never be on a jury because of what we do. Kevin also can't be on a jury because he's a lawyer, but I can't be on a jury because if I get up there and I say, oh, what do I work at? A
hearing on the Franks issues.
Do you think it'll come to a hearing, or do you think it'll be like it says in Odin we trust? It's not.
This is so weird, you guys.
If you're interested in joining our Patreon, that's available at www.
This has got to be it. Okay, hold on. This is so weird to me. Todd Click on the Franks motion. I must have hit the wrong one. Give me a second. Now we'll go to the right time.
There are two things that I would like to clear up immediately, though. Detective Fairness.
So you know that they are committed to ensuring safe working conditions and a spirit of sustainability.
I was looking.
Check out all of their beautiful pieces at brilliantearth.com. That's brilliantearth.com. In his communications with us, Mr. Click has said very little because he wants to respect the gag order and he wants to make sure that he can say what he wants to say without violating the terms of the gag order, because he takes that very, very seriously. And so he hasn't told us anything of substance apart from what I'm going to read to you. He says he's going to speak with his attorney to find out if the limits of what he is able to say. With that said, I'm going to read to you the following statement from Mr. Click. There are two things that I would like to clear up immediately, though. Detective Ferenczi and Detective Murphy were not Rushville cops. Detective Ferenczi was a detective from the Terre Haute Police Department that was assigned to the FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force. Detective Murphy was an Indiana State Police detective that was also assigned to the FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force. So the FBI was associated with the investigation until at least July 2021. Secondly, no one in law enforcement believes Abby and Libby were killed in a ritual sacrifice. That is the defense twisting facts for sensationalism. You can quote me on those two items.
Well, that is a pretty forceful statement. And let me just, in case.
Okay, so like I said, that was the first part of just the two main things, and that's what spread like wildfire was those two. Now, let me go back and tell you, show you or let you guys hear the second part, which is here. And I think I was messing around. No, see, it doesn't want to give me the right one. Let's try that again.
It's not like a symbol. It's like it's angle, seemingly on behalf of the Delphi task force.
So this is the day, or 2 days later, they post this. And this is, like I said to you guys, like I feel like these answers are more important than the first answers. Obviously, the murder sheet felt that the first two were the most important. As he said, I'm going to tell you the most important things that he said to me. I disagree, and I think that these are more important. So I want you guys to hear them.
Is widely cited in the defense's memorandum concerning Frank's allegations. We reached out to Todd Click a few days ago and previously got a statement from him where he said that the defense was sensationalizing and that no one in law enforcement believes that a ritual sacrifice was the reason that Abby and Libby were killed. But we've actually gotten some more nuanced statements from him that could indicate that he's still interested in the theory that he helped bring forward. So it kind of adds an additional wrinkle, I think, to what's going on here.
So we're going to share that now. Anya will read the questions we sent to Mr. Click, and I will read the answers.
Some people have suggested that while you disagree with the defense that this was a ritual murder, that you have agreement with them on who is responsible. Is that something you can speak to?
Yes, that is accurate.
Yes, that is accurate. Did you guys hear that? So the question, some people have suggested that while you disagree with the defense that it was a ritual murder, that you have agreement with them on who is responsible. Yes, that is accurate. Okay, we're not done. Hold on.
Other than the material about the cult angle, can you discuss how good a job the defense did discussing the evidence against their suspects?
It would be impossible for me to explain anything further without revealing details of the investigation, but it was fairly accurate.
Since their discussion of the evidence was fairly accurate, can you explain what aspects you feel were sensationalized?
Like I said before, it would be impossible for me to explain anything further without compromising details of the investigation. The defense team seemingly put Farron C. Murphy and I on a pedestal. We did nothing extraordinary. We just did our jobs and followed every lead that we had. We conducted our investigation the way investigations need to be completed. Granted, we were very dedicated to this investigation because the families of Abby and Libby and the community of Delphi deserve justice. As for the allegations against the correctional officers of DOC and Sheriff Liggett, I don't have any knowledge of those details, so I cannot comment.
So, you guys. Hi, everybody who just popped in. Hi, Sleuthy. Hi, Thistle. Hey, Johnny. Hey, Humanimal. Good to see you. Yeah, nobody's talking about the second part. This is what I was saying at the beginning, Sleuthy, too. It's like the beginning, the first episode that they referenced Todd Click and those first two answers, that like spread like wildfire. But for whatever reason, 2 days later, they do another podcast where they are talking about more answers that he gave that I feel are way more important. And it's just not there. So it's like everybody's kind of in this, well, Click, who's their main guy, thinks that this is just rubbish. And it's like, wait. There's more. So I'm going to read it one more time so you guys can fully absorb that. Murder Sheet asks him, some people have suggested that while you disagree with the defense that this was a ritual murder, that you have agreement with them on who is responsible. Click says, yes, that is accurate. The Murder Sheet asks, other than the material about the cult angle, can you discuss how good a job the defense did discussing the evidence against their suspects? Click's response, it would be impossible for me to explain anything further without revealing details of the investigation. but it was fairly accurate. So this means to me that he still stands behind his investigation. He still stands behind the fact that he wrote the letter to McClelland saying, hey, I need you to know that I have all of this research, and I need somebody to basically convince me that Richard Allen is the guy, and that you guys have more evidence against him than I know of, because otherwise I feel like I should be over here. Right. I think the part that's yeah, I think so too, Sleuthy. He doesn't want to be the guy. And we've talked about this a lot when going over that memorandum. You don't want to be the cop that's saying, hey, other cops aren't listening to me. Hi, Melmac. Hey, Janie Lane. Hi, K-Braze. They would have been trained in the Army for terrain. Yep. I just feel like we're being told like not to listen to the memorandum, which of course, I mean, we are essentially, but I just want to know why. And like I've said, as I went through the whole thing, the Odinist stuff is not necessarily what I feel is the most important part. It is a big part, but there's so many little legalese, like words that are used in that document that I think that the judge has no choice, that she has to look at that and say, hey, when we come to like the witness testimony or the witness statements. But for Click to say, yeah, I still stand behind my investigation. And I've always wondered if there's a professor, there's just this, right? There's a random Purdue professor, and he says, hey, Odinism is off the table. Let's say that that's somewhat accurate, because as we, like I said, I'm kind of just talking to you guys through this, like with how my brain is kind of going through it. The Odinism itself is not what they're necessarily saying. They're saying there's like an extremist group who have taken this Odinist or Odinism religion, this Norse pagan religion, and turned it into their own thing. So for argument's sake, Odinism is technically off the table, because that's not what... Well, they got the professor girl, LOL. I downloaded his book a week ago as soon as I seen his ass. So I have the new docs, and I think it's the same guy that we had talked about before, but I'm not 100%. So we'll see. Yeah, I do. I have all the new stuff. We're gonna go through that too. But this is just my thought process. I think that if you remove the word Odinism and take and put in like extremist group or something along those lines, and name it that instead, I think people would understand the concept a little bit better. It's like trying to say that Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell are Mormons at this point. We all know that they have taken all of their learnings and created their own chaos. Give me 1 second, guys. Oh, yes, I do. Okay, so let me pull up some of the newer docs, and some of it's just kind of like legal jargon that they have to put in here. But I think this is the first one. Let me just double check. Nope, that's number 2. Maybe I already have it up on the screen. Okay, so they sent in yesterday morning. We got the supplemental. We got the supplemental motion for Frank's hearing, and I know I'm a day behind. Like I said, I wasn't able to go live for the last couple of days, so we'll get to the one today. So, but this one, like I said, is just kind of them, almost like summarizing that entire memorandum into like, hey, this is what we really want you to focus on. Judge Goal, and this is why we really want this to happen. Same. I'm the same. I don't want anybody. But I don't want the wrong guy put away. Like, I really just want to make sure that everything was done. All the T's were crossed and all the I's were dotted, and they actually have the right guy. And what the defense has done for me, one is obviously they're giving us the information that we've craved essentially over the last 6.5 years, and then they've given us an answer for it. So where do I sit now? Ooh, I'm still on the fact that I think that there are major issues with that search warrant if the statements match what the defense said. It's very hard to say exactly where I fall because we can't physically see the exhibits. I cannot see Sarah Carbaugh's or Betsy Blair's actual statements. If I could see them, then it would be black and white, I think, where we would all kind of fall like, yeah, that's a lie. Nope, that's the truth. Yeah, that's a lie. That's the truth. So without actually physically being able to see them, I struggle. But after looking at the things I was looking at the other day when it came to the search warrant, and I can show you guys in case you guys weren't here on Saturday, in the search warrant, it literally says that, I'm gonna make sure I'm on the right page because I've been going through these again, of course, because that's how my brain works. I think it's up here. No, but this is another good point, and I think Sleuthie mentioned this in one of her tweets. So was Libby's phone actually found under Libby, or was it found under Abby? Because both documents actually say something different. But that's neither here nor there right now. Let me get to the part that I actually wanted to read for you. Here, so Betsy Blair was shown a picture of the individual on Monon High Bridge, and she says that is the same individual that she witnessed on the trails and on the bridge. Sarah Carbaugh then observes a man who is walking with a blue jacket and jeans that he is muddy and bloody, which is another area of debate, as if he had just been in a fight. She has shown a picture of the man on the bridge, and she said that it is the same man that she observed. So here in this affidavit for search warrant, Liggett is essentially saying Betsy says, yes, same guy on the bridge from Libby's video. Sarah, yes, same guy on the bridge in Libby's video. But they have told the public since the release of the second sketch that those two people in sketch number 1 and sketch number 2 are not the same person. So how does it become the same person to get this search warrant? They're literally saying it's not the same person. Betsy Blair goes to the cops in 2019. Hey, where's my sketch? The one you're showing is not the dude that I saw. So let me see what you guys are saying in here before I move on back to the other document. We need to realize that the branches of the scene is interpreted from photos by the defense. We might view these and realize that it isn't as they said. It looks more random, for example. I think that too. My biggest thing about the scene itself is the clothing. The clothing. So even if all the sticks and the F on the tree, if all of that is just interpreted to be odinistic or random, either way, what is up with the girls themselves? That there's something to that. People, you don't just go dressing one of them in the other one's clothes. So that's where at the scene, something is still weird with the scene, whether you take the sticks and the F away or not. That's how I cannot get over that. If the bullet isn't tossed, just remember there's a huge issue of chain of custody on the track. Well, the bullet wasn't actually found that day, from my understanding, looking through old documents. The bullet was found days later, which is why the original interpretation was that it was possibly a bullet that was dropped by law enforcement. A decent chance to block evidence or even get the charges thrown out. Razi is a crafty lawyer. Well, yeah. Either way, with that bullet, you're going to have some major issues. You're going to have issues whether it comes to the search warrant and him, you know, and I'm not going to know the exact terminology, but how they put in there that he intentionally or unintentionally basically lied. Defense had to provide a photo of the phone under the shoe under Abby. Liggett didn't have to show anything. True. So yeah, where's the shoe? Or where's the phone? Was the phone found under Abby or Libby? They can't even get that right. Yeah, you think you get a second opinion. They know you want the answer to be yes. That's why you don't hold a suspect in front of a witness anymore. Say that's him, like they used to back in the day. It's going to be an issue because that you can't just say, hey, is that the guy you saw? And now they're both like, oh yeah, that's totally the guy we saw. Okay, well, you both saw two different guys. So which one of you is wrong? And now both of your witness testimonies are garbage. Holder Westfall would have planned the flat terrain. Why spend all that time positioning and moving the bodies? It would. That's right. This is what the bodies themselves are. What I can't get past because you can't see the photos. Even though I believe that there's something to the sticks and the blood and those types of things. If there wasn't one, why would they even go to a professor to figure it out? Like one officer on the scene's like, hey, this looks like odinists around here. And they're like, nope, let's go see if we can get somebody to back that up. So they go to a professor. Professor's like, no. But you cannot take away that the initial people on the scene originally thought that. And then you have the next people who come in and start looking at the photos, like Purdy. And Purdy's like, nope, it looks like this. We need to figure this out. And they're like, nope, we've already ruled all that out. Hi, Aries Fire. Abby is dressed in Libby's clothes and Abby's clothes. She's got both clothes on. Not all, but she does have both clothes on. Okay, and so that's the other thing, Bianca, that I also think is interesting, the blood on the hands. Like, that's a whole saying. There's a whole saying about, well, that one's got blood on her hands, or that one's got blood on his hands. So does that mean something? Hi, Crime Sleuthin. Okay, I'll take a look. It's a total disaster. I agree. I'm so far behind on chat, you guys. I'm so sorry. As an Odinist, I don't see that as a rune on the tree, but the defense can run with the definition of rune, meaning secret or occult, and basically at that point, any possible symbol is a rune. I agree with that too. Because here's the thing. If they are like an extremist group, they're using different pieces of whatever they seem to like. So they could make up their own runes, technically. Doesn't even have to be an Odinistic rune. Everybody is trying to dismiss the significance of the crime scene oddities. This crime is one of the most unusual scenes anyone has ever heard of. Yeah, I don't want to dismiss it at all. I'm saying even if you do dismiss the F or the sticks or that and say, hey, it was random, and your interpretation when you look at the scene or you get to see the pictures is that it was random, explain to me the rest of it. Explain to me the rest of the oddities. Because even if you take that away, it's still odd. I think that weren't both sweatshirts put on them? Both sweatshirts were put on Abby. It was both bras. I thought it was both sweatshirts. Both bras, both sweatshirts. There's something up with the underwear because we know a pair of underwear is missing. And Sleuthie, this is a good point, because that one lady who was talking about like her expertise in the occult and things like that was actually said that people are missing the point, because if you want to take the sticks as a symbol, then however the bodies are shaped is actually part of that symbol. And all the things that we're seeing, nobody's talking about the actual, like, what does it mean? What type of rune or symbol is it if you do add the posing of the bodies into it? Yes, it is satanic. Yes. I thought just Libby's shirt was found in the water. Libby's shirt, her shoe was found in the water. I'm gonna have to clarify this. Let me go down. I'm gonna skip over some just because I want to get down closer. That's a great question too, and also because of the significance of Valentine's Day. Right. So if you take the one that Barbara McDonald put on court TV, and then she's like, well, we matched the F to it. The F is actually pointing up the way that she has it. Yeah. You and me both, Melmac. You and me. I'm like I said, I'm trying to learn. This is not my forte. This whole Odinism. I mean, religion in itself is not my forte. Let me just be honest. Tony, a lot of people think that. A lot of people think they were taken and they were brought back. And Sleuthie, if that's true, many have speculated that since she received those from her sources in law enforcement, that is the, if you remember in the memorandum, it says that that law enforcement did not send crime scene photos to this professor. They just sent the way that things were arranged. If that's true, then that would be something that they may have actually sent to the professor that looked like nothing. Most surprising aspect of this crime to me is the lack of essay on the victims. We thought for sure that was the motive. And we've never been told 100% no, right? I mean, we've all kind of heard no. We've heard no from the families. We've heard no. But I mean, I don't know if on any legal document we were actually told no. Sleuthie, do you remember? Sleuths Investigate, do you remember that? So this is another thing to me. Were the clothes wet? It's not hot out. It would, if these guys had to go through 3.5 feet of water to get across that creek, were their clothes wet? Because that's another thing that comes up when I think of like Sarah Carbaugh. Whoever did this and moved them across this river, that person would have also been wet. So even in her description, the person is muddy and bloody, or just muddy, depending on which one you go with. Why wouldn't the person have been wet? These people should have been soaked. That's true. It does say that. There's no fluids, no forensic evidence. I would think they were wet. It does. The Hanged Man tarot card, it actually looks more like, when we were pulling up the tarot card, it was the opposite leg. And the one that Brad Holder had actually painted had the same leg. So I'm wondering if we look at like different tarot cards, if they actually have different like they use different legs. Oh, Rocky, really? Okay, well I didn't see that. It was debunked on another channel. Would you mind telling me what channel? Doug Carter tried to say they were killed where they were found. He thinks they were killed by another tree and then brought over to that tree, which is also weird. Hi, Kaleido Hope. Yeah, they would have been. So even in the next day, if it got a little bit warmer and they kind of started to, everything still would have been wet. It is. Well, it's manipulated. We know that because of the fact that it's not the same point in time. It's two different points. The audio we hear is not from the video we're watching. Well, we're going to go through, I don't know if we're going to be able to do that today, but we're going to go through the old press conferences so you guys, I can point out some of the things that I was finding in there. Okay, let me get back over here to this. So this is their supplemental. They put this in yesterday, and like I said, this is really just a, hey, we really want you to focus on these points, not the dogs are wrestling by my feet. I'm going to kick them out of the room. Give me 1 second. Come on, you guys. Okay. I don't know why they feel like they have to be like on top of my feet when they wrestle, but even when I walk, they do that crap. So, okay, so what we're talking about. The supplemental, this was what they put in yesterday. On the 18th day of September 2023, Defendant Allen filed his motion for the Franks hearing. In paragraph 8 of said motion, Defendant Allen made general references to the preliminary showing required prior to the admission of Frank's evidence at a suppression hearing. However, the defendant Allen now realizes that he did not articulate in detail the actual burden of proof associated with said preliminary showing. To mandate an evidentiary hearing, the challenger's attack must be more than conclusory and must be supported by more than a mere desire to cross-examine. There must be allegations of deliberate falsehood or the reckless disregard for the truth, and those allegations must be accompanied by an offer of proof. They should point out specifically the portion of the warrant affidavit that is claimed to be false, and they should be accompanied by a statement of supporting reasons. Affidavits or otherwise reliable statements of witnesses should be furnished or their absence satisfactorily explained. This is via Franks v. Delaware, which is what the whole Franks hearing actually has to do with, or it stems from. That's their case law. The question becomes, what exactly is the burden of proof associated with the preliminary showing? So, okay, let me keep reading and then I'll explain. The Illinois Supreme Court addressed the issue of the burden of proof related to the preliminary showing. In pertinent part, the court states as follows. Franks expressly states that in order to prevail at the hearing, the defendant must prove his claim of perjury by a preponderance of the evidence. If the preponderance standard is to apply at the hearing, it follows logically that the threshold requirement must be something less. Thus, the precise standard lies somewhere between more denial on the one hand and proof by preponderance on the other. But another way, the preliminary burden must be sufficiently rigorous to preclude automatic hearings in every case, but not so onerous, I don't know if I'm saying that, onerous, as to be unachievable. Therefore, Allen's burden could be akin to the well-recognized burden of reasonable suspicion, the lowest of the standards employed in the criminal justice system. So essentially what they're saying is, like, we need some evidence that's putting forth that there is a preponderance of evidence in a preliminary hearing. Where is this preponderance of evidence that points that we're even doing the right thing here anymore? All right, give me 1 second, guys. Seriously, you gotta be one out. Hi, everybody that just popped in. Oh, Bushi, really? I'll have to take a listen. Although I don't think these are really strict, to be accurate, or honor any deity, they are loser psychopaths trying to baffle us with their evil that we'll never truly understand. That's a great point, too. It is a good point. and what they do is they do these evil acts, and then they go, oh yeah, hey, I'm it's because of my religion. But it's like, that doesn't even match your religion, so nice try. Oh, Christy, you got it? That's awesome. Yeah, Kelly, yes. I mean, the fact that this could be anybody. It could be anybody. You happen to be, this is the whole point of like mere presence. You happen to just be at the scene on the same day, and this is what happens to you. That is nuts. So the cops weren't called until like 5:30. So the family started searching. Well, Libby's dad started kind of calling and like walking around, and then he went back to his car at about 3:30. He gets there a little after 3, and then he calls the family around 4:30. They start showing up, and then they're walking around. Nobody can find anybody, so they call the cops at about 5:30. The law enforcement search goes on from 6 to about 11. There are a handful of people who say they never went home. They stayed there and searched all night long. And then the cops and everybody else came back the next morning, and they were found at about noon. I think they were actually seen a little bit before noon, but by the time anybody else got over there, it was a little after noon. So Bianca, I don't want to go too far into my theory on that. Like I was talking about with the blood on the hands, like her blood is on your hands kind of thing. I've thought about this. I don't know if you were the one who actually commented that under one of my videos, but I did start looking at that snitch group. And I was like, wait a minute. Is that why Libby has like her blood on your, like her blood's on her hands at that moment, but like as a sign? I don't know. That's why I said I don't want to get too far into my theories and my rabbit holes, but that's what I was thinking. All right. If he's truly innocent, he's about to be rich. Hi, Tiffany. Hey, the doc. Quick check vote. Are you guilty? Here, let me put up a poll real quick. I'll put it up. Give me a second. Should we do a poll? Give me a second. It's like, will he be found not guilty, or do you want to actually do innocent? Let's do. I'll put both in there. Start a poll. Richard Allen. Guilty. Like, not guilty would not necessarily mean innocent. It just means that there's not enough evidence to convict, remember? So then I'm going to do guilty, not guilty, and then we'll do actual, like, full innocent, like where he would be exonerated. Okay. The poll's up. Let's see. Oh my God. It's like so even. Oh, not guilty popped up a little bit. Put your votes in, guys. Yeah, right now I'm struggling with saying guilty. I don't know if I'm stuck between not guilty and innocent, though. I think is where I'm kind of falling. Until we have more from the prosecution. Okay, let me go back over to StreamYard. Right now we're sitting with 33 guilty, 44 not guilty, 24 like actual innocent, got the wrong dude. Oh, 24 now. Did I say 24, 22? I don't even remember my numbers. Okay. I think he's guilty, but others were there. Some people are speculating that this was like Richard Allen's initiation, which I thought was an interesting thought. I just thought that was like, oh, I'm like, okay, maybe, I guess. So the Rockaways, I was wondering then, are any of these people that are the defense is kind of profiling here with the 4 to 5 people, are they connected to the Clines? Because let's just say there's a connection between them and the Clines, how much more the defense theory accelerates. Because nobody can find any connection from Richard Allen to the Clines. I think that's right. RA's initiation and set up as a patsy. Ooh. Hi, Jordan. Okay, let me keep going through this. So the purpose of the substantial preliminary showing requirement is to discourage the abuse of the hearing process and to enable spurious claims to wash out at an early stage. At its very foundation, the preliminary showing requirement is intended to discourage litigants from utilizing the suppression process as a means of seeking an additional opportunity to cross-examine the state's witnesses. I do feel like that's a lot of what the Koberger case wants to do, but that's different. Hence, the rule requires that the defendant assert more than basic allegations. Instead, defendant must offer up affidavits and other supporting documents to prove up the defendant's claim that the state actors engaged in conduct that demonstrated intentional or reckless disregard for the truth. Now, even if they want to say that Liggett didn't intentionally lie, reckless disregard for the truth, if he's putting in there that these witnesses saw the same man, their statements would clearly say that's not true. The investigators from the years that Liggett was on this case have said it was not the same person. So they would know. He would know that he's not putting the truth in there. All right, we don't need that one. Okay, so essentially, like, this is not the big one, so I don't want to spend too much time on this. But basically, Allen offered up dozens of pages of police reports from various law enforcement officers, all of which focus on individuals other than himself that could have committed these crimes. Deposition transcripts from law enforcement officers that contain testimony acknowledging that others may have committed these crimes. And finally, both written and recorded statements of witnesses on or near the trail on the day in question who articulated facts entirely inconsistent with those offered up by Sheriff Liggett in his affidavit supporting the search warrant. So this, to me, is the biggest thing. Is like they're just saying, hey, we have given you every single thing that shows you that Liggett either intentionally or recklessly put forth bad info. All right, now I'm going to go to, they put out the discovery one, but I don't want to touch on that one yet. I'm going to go to the one from today because it's a follow-up. It's additional information for the Franks hearing. So this was, what we just read was the supplemental for the Franks hearing. Now, today they put in additional information for the Franks hearing. So I'm going to go to that one. Okay, so yes, there could be. But problem is, Liggett says in that search warrant that he shows the photo, or law enforcement shows the photo of the guy on the bridge to Betsy Blair. She says, yep, that's the guy. Then turn around and say, we showed the photo of the guy on the bridge to Sarah Carbaugh. And she says, yeah, that's the guy. They both can't say that's the guy they saw. And then law enforcement say they're two different guys. It won't add up. And then you also have Betsy Blair, who says the sketch from Sarah Carbaugh is not the guy she saw. Oh, you guys are fine. Hi, Vanessa. Hi, Heather. 15 tips came in identifying Logan in that video. Even his ex was saying, they showed me the photo of the guy on the bridge, and I just thought they were looking for Logan. I didn't even know, or not looking for Ron Logan. I just thought they were looking for him because that was him. She's like, I didn't know that was the suspect. All right, let me go back to the poll. Let me see real quick. Well, this poll, yeah, you guys are changing all over. So 38% still say that Richard Allen is guilty. 44 say not guilty. And now innocent is at 18. Logan's exes are all filled with sour grapes. Well, if what they said was true about Logan, then I might be filled with sour grapes too. But I can't go down the Logan rabbit hole right now. We can do that on another one. So this was a point that I actually was talking with Mandy Jo, and she said something about, like, how do we even know that Richard Allen, or not Richard, let's take Richard Allen out of it. How do we know that the guy in Libby's video is even the guy with the voice later on in the audio, or is even the one who actually did it? How do we, the public, know that that person in that video is the guy? So when I go back through documents to see how do we know that, right? Why do we think that? They say the reason that they believe that the guy in Libby's video is the guy that did the crime is because nobody came forward to say they were the guy on the bridge. Nobody came forward to say, hey, that's me, and I didn't do anything to those girls. But wait, how do we know that nobody came forward? How do we know that nobody came forward and that tip got buried for 5.5 years? How do we know that there's not another tip out there? Hey, here it is. Hey, Sarah Lynn. Yeah, not guilty does not mean innocent. That's why I put both. Yep. Yeah, well, witness testimony is notoriously off. Okay, so this is the one from today. So they have now want additional Frank's notice. Defendants additional Frank's notice. Comes now the accused, Richard Allen, by and through counsel Andrew Baldwin and Brad Rossi, and files the following additional information to supplement the Frank's motion and memorandum previously filed with this court on October 18th, 2023. I think they mean September. They have some issues with typos. In support of said notice, the defense states the following, that on September 18th, 2023, the defense filed its motion for Frank's hearing as well as a memorandum in support of said motion. 2, that since filing that motion, the defense has received new discovery that strongly supports the defense's belief that Tony Liggett and Unified Command attempted to conceal from Judge Diener and has since even attempted to hide it from the defense, that evidence supports that those practicing Odinism were the murderers of Abby and Libby. Number 3, specifically, Tony Liggett swore under oath at his August 8th, 2023 deposition that a Purdue professor did not believe that the sticks found on Abby and Libby's bodies consistent of runes. Furthermore, Sergeant Jerry Holman swore under oath at his August 10th, 2023 deposition that a Purdue professor said that the sticks found on the girls did not represent Odinism or any type of cult worshiping or any type of group that would have conducted the crime. Number 5, because of the findings of this Purdue professor, the Unified Command claimed to have essentially abandoned the Odinism aspect of the investigation into the murders of Abby and Libby. Number 6, in response to the defense request to depose this Purdue professor on September 6, 2023, the prosecutor, Nick McClelland, told the defense via email, as stated before, we are trying to identify the Purdue professor, but no luck yet. Detective Holman has reached out to the FBI and Purdue and has not gotten a response yet. We will continue our endeavors, but may not be able to identify him or her. They don't even know if it was a guy or a girl. How do they don't even know if it was a guy or a girl? Come on. However, on September 19th, 2023, the day after the Franks memorandum was filed, where it was revealed that the Purdue professor was quote unquote missing, miraculously, Jerry Holman found the professor, whose name is Jeffrey Turko, and interviewed him. Miraculously. Now, why in the world are they interviewing the Purdue professor? Why would they need to interview him? However, in the interview, Jerry Holman apologized to Turko for the 3 to 4 weeks that it took him, Holman, to sit down and talk with Turko. Number 9, this means that Holman was aware of the Purdue professor's identity since mid to late August, but nonetheless told Nick McClelland and Unified Command could not locate the Purdue professor, and furthermore, that they may not ever be able to find him. However, after it was obvious that the Purdue professor would probably out himself as the missing Purdue professor following the Franks memorandum, Holman went and interviewed the Purdue professor the day after the Franks memorandum was filed. Why would Holman and the Unified Command try to hide the name of the Purdue professor, even risking ridicule for the absurdity that they could not remember his name? The answer is obvious once the taped statement was played. Dr. Turko stated that after viewing the pattern of sticks on the girls, that it was a given that someone was trying to replicate a Germanic runic script. Furthermore, Dr. Turko consulted with a colleague from Harvard who had even more knowledge on runes, and this Harvard professor was in agreement with Turko. Furthermore, Dr. Turko stated that Odinism is an extreme neo-pagan, neo-heathenism ideology that has right-wing racist connotations. Furthermore, Dr. Turko stated that according to 19th century sources, that Vikings practiced ritual killings and sacrifices. Furthermore, Dr. Turko stated that although he could not necessarily interpret these runes, that the stick configurations were pretty clearly runic, and that he could certainly imagine that this was somebody's idea, that when you do human sacrifice, you carve runes. There are some poetic sources that would sort of support that idea that somebody might have come across. That scenario seems entirely plausible to me, Turko taped statement. Furthermore, Dr. Turko discussed how runes were thought to have magical significance and would be used in incantations and rituals, and that there is a sacrificial connection in mythological poetry. These were things, again, where somebody who was sort of an Odin, quote-unquote, fanboy would likely come across. That on September 8th, September 18th, September 21st, September 27th, the state of Indiana made available to the defense a total of 14 hard drives, 5 flash drives, 3 disks, and what appears to be hundreds of pages of paperwork. Particularly contained in the state of Indiana's September 27th, 2023 evidence drop was a thumb drive that contained an interview of a Jeffrey Turko, not marked as Purdue professor. It seems apparent by the timing of events that Tony Liggett and Unified Command knew the Purdue professor's name and wanted to hide his name and his findings from the defense, as Turko's conclusions supported the defense and opposed the prosecution and Liggett's and Holman's sworn statements. Therefore, apparently in what seems like a complete harebrained scheme, Holman and Liggett decided to claim that they did not know the professor's name, hoping that this would put an end to the defense looking into the Purdue professor. However, once the memorandum made it clear that the Purdue professor would certainly be found at some point in time, it took Holman 1 day to locate Dr. Turko and interview him about his findings of 2017. Again, Franks requires a preliminary finding that law enforcement has acted intentionally or with reckless disregard for the truth when being accused of concealing evidence from the judge who signed the warrant. It would be difficult to find a more outrageous set of facts to support that Liggett and the Unified Command intentionally concealed the Odinite information from Judge Diener if Liggett and Unified Command were willing to try to get away with concealing a Purdue professor from the defense counsel. Then it is easy to see that they would have no problem concealing all the evidence detailed in the Franks memorandum from Judge Diener as well. Wherefore, defense counsel respectfully files his additional Franks notice and would request that the court factor in this new filing into its ruling on the defense request for a Frank hearing. So they knew who he was, and they lied. And they lied and said they didn't know who he was. But if there's the statement that says, hold on, where is it at? In the interview that takes place on, what did we say? September 19th. September 19th, he apologizes for it taking 3 to 4 weeks that it took him to sit down and talk with Turko. What does that even mean? Let's think about the timeline of that. 3 to 4 weeks that it took him. Was Turko trying to get a hold of him? Why is he apologizing? Why is he apologizing for it taking 3 to 4 weeks? What does that mean to you guys? Ginger snaps. Well, I agree 100% with that, Bushi. Like, that's why I'm like, that's like trying to say that all Mormons go around and kill their kids because that's what Lori Vallow did. And I just don't, that's not accurate. And if what this professor is saying, and I can't wait to hear this. I cannot wait to hear this interview, because is there any conversation during this interview where he says, I'm the one who talked to you? I'm the one who talked to you back in 2017? Because remember, Holman and Purdy, Holman's the one who gave Purdy the report. Yeah. Turkos, Turco, Turko. I might be saying it wrong. I hope not, but Turko, Turco, Dr. Jerry. You got me saying Jeffrey now. Dr. Jerry Turko. Wait, is Jerry the other? Jerry, that's Holman. Dang it. Jeffrey, it is Jeffrey. I'm going to type it so that we can all just see it. Dr. Jeffrey Turko. There. Jerry's and Jeffrey's, and there's so many damn names. But I cannot get, this makes no sense to me. I apologize that it took me 3 to 4 weeks to sit down and talk with you. And then Holman's interview or deposition with the defense was on August 10th. Yeah, Jeff Turko. I don't know. It just, what am I apologizing for taking 3 to 4 weeks? Did he reach out to him after his deposition? Did Jerry Holman reach out to Jeffrey Turko after his deposition on August 10th to try to set up a meet? Because he knew the defense was going to figure out who it was. And then it kind of got pushed to the wayside, like, whatever, we'll get around to it. Like Dr. Turko like responds to him. If they have any of this, if they have any of that, what do you call it? Oh my gosh, I can't, my brain's drawn a total blank. Not collaboration, if they have any of that communication between Jerry and Jeffrey, between Sergeant Holman and the Purdue professor, that says like, hey, I'd love to talk to you. And then all of a sudden, that was August 10th, they try to get a hold of this Purdue professor. He puts it off, and then all of a sudden the memorandum comes out, and they're like, shit, they really are going to stay on this whole thing. I better go talk to Professor Turko. Sorry that it took me 3 to 4 weeks to sit down with you after I reached out to you. Like, this is what I'm here. Like, this is how I'm feeling when I'm reading this. They're like, oh crap, we better do it. You hear his boss going like, what the hell? You were supposed to talk to that Purdue professor last month. And he's like, shit, I know. I'll do it right now. Leaned on their forensic scout to say that the cartridge matched RA's gun, but she insisted on saying it was subjective. Stephen, you very well could be right. That's if that even ends up in court whatsoever. Because if they get that warrant thrown out, which that's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to do. But I mean, I've never felt that they were any like a defense team was this close as I do with this defense team. They're the closest to being able to get a warrant thrown out. But then the next part's going to be the chain of custody. And if what I'm remembering and going back and reading is correct, and that bullet wasn't even found for days, yeah, they knew 3 weeks before that. They knew exactly who he was. And isn't it interesting? This is why I need to know or read the transcript of this interview between Sergeant Holman and the Purdue professor, because I need it to be confirmed that this is the same one that they talked to in 2017. I need him to say that. I need him to be able to confirm that. Because maybe he reached out to another Purdue professor and was like, hey, is there any chance like we can sit down and talk? And it's not the same one. I'm not saying that, but I think it is. And Dr. Turko says like it would be somebody who thinks this is what you do, not somebody who actually does it. Not somebody who actually does it. Boo, she might. I'm not actually sure, but thank you for the super sticker. I'm not actually sure if she does, but I don't. We have a different history. I doubt she would like it if I did it, but I will definitely go watch it and commentate on it. But this goes along with everything that we're saying about it wouldn't actually be Odinists. It would be people thinking they're Odinists, or people who are taking the pieces of Odinism and trying to make it fit into what they want it for. It goes, I mean, if that's what this guy said, yeah. Yeah, I won't, because like I said, her and I have a different history, so we'll just leave it at that. But I'll take a look at it. I'm obviously curious. Well, I mean, if you guys have a question, we have the Heathen Coalition in chat. I'm sure they'd be happy to answer anything to clarify what the the differences would be in some type of extremist group like this versus what an actual odinist is actually practicing. That's exactly what it's being called by Elias, staging, making it seem like something to hide his identity and his intent. I cannot get behind that Richard Allen or some other rando would take the time to create or to stage the crime scene. Posing, yes, there's a weird thing that happens in some crimes. You know what? I don't even know if I still have that up. I wonder if I do. I had looked up statistics for posing and staging of crime scenes. It's very, very minimal. And having somebody who poses and stages is incredibly rare. So if the posing would be the bodies, the staging would be somebody who doesn't actually practice Odinism sitting there and staging the crime scene to look like it was a cult or an Odinistic type of thing. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's two separate things. Now, I cannot for the life of me imagine a Richard Allen. I've never killed anybody before. I'm 50 years old. These girls are young and in decent shape. Here I am. This is my first time. I'm going to do it in the middle of the day. And then I'm going to go and I'm going to pose them in this weird way and dress one of them, the other one's clothing, and make sure that there's what, and then I'm posing their bodies regardless of the sticks or not. I pose their bodies, and then I'm going to take the time to stage the crime scene to make it look like it was the cult. I'm going to write this F. I'm going to put these sticks. I'm going to do these things. There's no way that somebody in the middle of the day is going to go, yeah, this seems like a really good idea, while there's other people out there. It just doesn't make sense. Well, he was there an hour after. So this is a whole nother set of issues I'm running into when I'm reading these documents. He states that he was there from 12:30 to 1:30. Now, the girls, remember, he says he ran into the girls, that he saw the girls and the girls saw him. Okay, hold on. The Heathen Coalition. Extremist Odinists are allowed rituals, and many won't even share a horn with somebody of another race, let alone someone with crime against kids, nor would they condone harming white girls. Well, I also have an issue because then the other part of this is saying like it's a white supremacist group that took over, like, and is like a white supremacist nationalist group that is now practicing Odinism and combining these things. But Brad Holder has pictures on Facebook of him with different races. So that's odd to me that he would be like some white supremacist who's doesn't have an issue with posting photographs of other races to where his crew and his followers would see that. Do you see what I don't know? That just doesn't make sense. They are grossly missing. Well, mine doesn't surprise me at all. We'll be. If this person did this, it wasn't Alan. There's no way the timeline fits. Okay, so that's another thing with like the whole thing that the sticks were cut. So you either brought a saw and sawed them there, or you brought a bunch of sticks with you. And then if you brought a bunch of sticks with you, why is only one of the sticks cut? But this goes back to a comment that was said way early in this live, that the defense is only looking at crime scene photos. And what we heard from Barbara McDonald was that they did not collect the sticks. They went back weeks later and were like, well, let's try to find these sticks. And now we don't even know if those are the right sticks. So yeah, the math ain't mathin'. RA saw 4 girls, not 3, or vice versa. It was a whole other set of girls. So this is a big thing because they said that there was 4 girls only 3 of the girls were interviewed supposedly, and that the 4th girl was not, as she was a minor. So now, did they actually see 2 different sets of girls? Because if you look at, oh gosh, I don't even remember which one it's in now. Let me see if I highlighted it. Nope, that's the memorandum, not that one. Nope. I was looking at it. The video transfer station is driving his Logan. Okay, that's Logan's. Nope, wrong one. Give me a second. Let me see if I highlighted it. Because the timing would not make sense. The time that the girls are leaving would not make sense if he actually left at 1:30. Now, there is the whole conundrum of words of, did he tell Dan Doolin that he was there between the hours of 1:30 and 3:30, like he was at the park during that time, or did he say he actually was there from 1:30 to 3:30? Okay, so here it is. I did highlight it. Bree stated that when they walked past the man who matched the description of the individual. So let me go back up. An interview was conducted with Bree Wilbur, sorry. She was able to show investigators a picture that she took on her phone of the Monon High Bridge with a timestamp of 12:43. She showed investigators another picture she took at the bench just east of the Freedom Bridge when they were leaving at 1:26. Bree stated that after she took the picture at the bench, they started walking back towards the Freedom Bridge. Bree stated that when they walked past the man who matched the description of the individual in the picture. So this would be him coming, because he's heading towards Monon High Bridge at that time. They're leaving. He's going towards it. This is a big deal. If it's not the same group of girls, that absolutely changes the timing that he was there. If he sees a different group of girls, she says that she saw that man walking towards the Monon High Bridge at 1:26 when they were leaving. This would mean that Richard Allen would have had to have gotten there at 1:30, not been leaving at 1:30. Adjusted fate, yes. The font bothers you? Let me go back up. What about the DNA under LG's fingernails? Who does that belong to? Not RA. They would have said it already if it was. So that's a great question. The beginning of it, all the documentation talks about how they have fibers and they have DNA and fingerprints. At one point in time, everybody states they have those things. The DNA, fibers, and fingerprints. And there's even on the warrant animal hair for Ron Logan. So they have these things, but at the beginning, they don't know who any of it belongs to. So let's say they do have DNA. Yes, we did find DNA. Okay, so we don't know who it belongs to yet. Go back to the very beginning. We don't know who it belongs to yet. That's fine. Okay, maybe the DNA comes back, and remember, Kelsey said that she'd given Libby a sweatshirt, and so maybe the DNA comes back and it ends up being Kelsey's DNA. So that, yes, they didn't lie. They technically do have DNA. They just have to figure out who it belongs to. My issue with this is, as time goes by, how are you still saying that you have DNA if you now know that the DNA you had doesn't belong to any of them? Okay, let me see. That hello from one girl and the man doesn't acknowledge. Well, Alan describes the same interaction. Then he sees a woman near a bridge, and timeline suggests he was arriving, not leaving. Can he prove he was doing things at home after 1:30? Was he online, speaking with a friend, called his wife? Or is there a dead zone of time until after 5? That's a great question. My other question to you, Humana, then would be, do we know if we're trusting that document where it's saying this is what Alan said? Because it's by the same group of people that are saying that Sarah Carbaugh saw a muddy, bloody man and in a blue jacket, when the opposite side is saying, no, that's not what her interview said. So then my question is that what Richard Allen said? We don't have that part yet. So these are the things that kind of play around in my mind. I don't know. Obviously, I think that's probably what he said, but, and why can't he? He should be easily able, I guess maybe not easily, I don't know. But if they do have all of his info, there's just nothing else. And supposedly in all these depositions with law enforcement, there's nothing else that ties him to them. There's nothing that ties him to Odinism. So even if he is going to stage this crime scene and be like, oh yeah, I think this is what they would do if I was an Odinist and I was going to sacrifice human beings, I think they would put these runes. Where am I finding that information? So this has actually come up a lot lately, Anita Phillips, with this, after this memorandum came out. We were always told beforehand that the girls' original date of death is the day they were found, which is 2/14. And you'll find that typically on any murder investigation. The date of death is always the original day of the day that the bodies are discovered. So we were told that Abby's mom just left that date, and Libby's grandparents and dad chose to go with the 13th because that's when law enforcement stated that the girls were actually killed. So you can legally do either one. It's your choice as the family. And I was always told that Abby's mom just left it the way that law enforcement did it when, because that's the day they were found. Now, there's a lot of people questioning this whole slow death by Abby, and what does that actually mean? And does that actually tell a different story on why Abby's mom chose to go with the 14th? There has never been a time of death released to us in the public. We have heard a lot of everything was done by 3:30. Everything was done by 3:30. But we've never been told a time of death. What's not true, Lynn? Which part? The PCA being weak or what I just said? Not true, it was quick. Well, there you go. So, I mean, the defense disagrees. They think it was slow. Yeah. Because investigators would have had to have looked for things that made it impossible for Alan to be at the trails knowing that defense would find it. I reckon they couldn't find exculpatory evidence. Yeah. Weak PCA. Hi, Likely Nicole. The Snapchat video based off the dad calling and the not answering is where the time-ish of deaths comes from. So that's they say that because he was there and was looking for them, that it had to be done by 3:30. But to me, you'd have to prove that you were actually in that location. And from everything I've ever seen, it talks about that he gets there, he's calling, and she's not answering. He's calling the other family, hey, have you guys heard from her? Not answering. He gets out, kind of walks around, is like, hey, have you guys, did you guys see two girls? And they're like, no, we saw a couple, blah, blah, blah. They were like making out under the bridge. We haven't seen these girls. So he goes back to the car and starts calling more people. The family starts coming, and that's how it is. The defense says that it was slow based on what, and I'm not a nurse. So once again, you guys are asking me a question that's out of, I can't say, because I don't know I know that if you cut your jugular, it's not going to take very long. That's just, from movies and just true crime. But they're saying that something was cut in her neck that would have made her bleed slowly. No, yeah, nobody's ever seen that. I don't know if the parents have even seen that. Well, I wouldn't say it's YouTube rumors, because that's what the defense is stating. So, I mean, the defense is stating that that's how it happened. Let me see what else you guys got. It just doesn't. I know there's so much that just doesn't make sense. Janie Lane, I don't know. I don't even know anymore. I'm telling you, if we see the exhibits, this list of exhibits the defense added with that memorandum, to me, if we could see some of that evidence and decide for ourselves, which will happen at trial, and the jury will get to see it and they will decide, it's going to be up to them. If they look at those crime scene photos and it's apparent to them that there was some type of ritualistic thing done at this crime scene, that's going to be huge. And then you're going to have him. You're going to have Richard Allen somehow finding that information. Was he Googling it? Was he reading books on it? Was he talking to people in town about it? How does he know that? The defense, you mean, Humanimal? This is ultimately why, at the end of the day, for me, even if you take the odinistic stuff out of it, or you take any type of ritual stuff out of it, I'm really, about the Franks hearing, I am more focused on the witness statements, and if Liggett said that they were one thing, knowing that they were another. Which, like I said, it doesn't mean that the whole thing with the Franks hearing doesn't have to be that he intentionally did it. Could have been, recklessly did it. And if you take out these witness statements that this is the person that they saw, and you take out the fact that he's not even wearing the same damn thing, and then you look at the girls themselves and what happened there, you got something to it. And I know a lot of people on YouTube have said that she was completely, I hate that Abby was completely drained of blood. That the document kind of reads that way, but it doesn't specifically say that. So I know why people are interpreting it that way. I asked that same question. I just don't know. I know that they said there's no blood on her, only a little bit around the wound. Because Joe contacted the defense team. I don't know what you mean. Which Joe? Who's Joe? What's his channel? Is that True Crime guy? Tell me the channel so then I can know who I'm talking about. Yes, it did. Look in the footnotes. They refer to his YouTube channel. Okie dokie. Let's see. Joe. Is this the Australia Joe? Is that who I'm looking at? Okay, so it is this one. A gentleman named Joe Lewis, who thought the defense should focus on Brad Holder based upon a review of Holder's public Facebook posts. Unified Command was based only a few miles from the murder site and thought Holder was not even a suspect, yet a man 9,000 miles away was able to figure out the importance of focusing on Brad Holder. That one. But I mean, there's quite a few people who sent that in. They talk about that they were given, I don't want to quote the number now because now I was reading Ron Logan's and that he had 15, but they had like 10 tips about Brad Holder. And we're not just talking about this Joe Lewis guy. There was quite a few people. What's Joe's channel? Did somebody say it in here? If they are looking for ruins, they will find them. The F rune didn't have me convinced. I'm not going to say that word I'm not going to say it correctly. Futhark alphabet. But if it were a symbolic ritual, a bridge is the liminal space between worlds. Well, that's interesting. Hi, Bree. I know that's what the defense suggests, but we don't know that. Is his channel named just Joe Lewis? Crime Night? Crime Night. Okay. Yeah, I'm not familiar with this person. I don't think. Let me pull it up just so I can see. Yeah, I don't think I've ever watched this channel. All right, I'll take a look at it. So you guys that are familiar with it, you think that he was talking about Brad Holder, and so that's where all the other tips came from, was people who were watching this guy. When did he talk about Brad Holder? That's kind of where I'm at. And obviously that's not even super relevant right now. I'll figure it out as I do some more research. But hi, Idaho Charlie. He's a family blamer and pro RA. Like, he blames their families? The girls' families? It was the Feast of Volley on the 13th at 3 p.m. You're going to have me going down a different rabbit hole, aren't you? All right, I'll look at it.
No.
Hold on, baby.
No.
Give me 1 second, guys. Tiny human.
Stop.
Okay, sorry, guys. The scary thing is defense dropping this document prior to BH and Camp having their places searched, so if they did commit this crime, they have probably dumped any evidence related to it. Well, they've also had 6.5 years to dump it, and nobody ever bothered to get a search warrant. And if what people are suggesting is factual, which it's pure speculation, is that they're all connected to each other, then it wouldn't even matter. I don't think they would have gotten rid of it. The defense-based statements upon prosecution, data sent to them. For the most part, yes. For the most part, yes. They also did base some things on, I mean, they had to go, I shouldn't say base. They had to investigate things that they didn't get all of the information for, which is also ironic because in the new information that came out today, they're still getting dumps of discovery. And in those dumps of discovery, they're giving them new interviews, like this one with the professor that took place on September 19th. But yet they still don't have the original videos of the interviews with Brad Holder. How does that make sense? I'm going to believe the Harvard professor and Purdue professor. If they say it is, it most likely is. Well, problem is, Jeannie Smith, is this supposed Purdue professor is why they stopped investigating it back in the day. So one of my main questions after reading that memorandum was, how in 2018 do we even have a Click, Ferenczi, and Murphy team looking into Odinism, or not even Odinism? And I think that's one of the things that Click's referring to that we talked about at the beginning of the live, is he's referring to the connections between these people and the statements that were made by all involved. Because that team of three is who was talking to Amber Holder, Brad's ex-wife, talking to Elvis Field's sisters, and was the one that was interviewing Johnny Messer, who was supposedly the connector between the Rushville crew and that crew. Now, what I think Click is trying to say is, hey, we do think that these people are tied to this based on all the interviews that we have done. We don't necessarily blame that they were Odinists on why it was done. But I always wondered why in 2018 was this group of three still investigating Odinism if the Purdue professor and the Unified Command was saying, hey, we've ruled all that out. Don't even bother to look at it. Okay, I got behind on chat again. Idaho Charlie, which one was released today? One of them I read was released today. Let me see which one it is. This one. It's additional information to the supplemental that was already released. So they have the memorandum, they have a supplemental to the memorandum, and then they have an additional supplemental, which is what came out today, where they now are talking about Dr. Turko from Purdue University. Oh, hi, Sean. Memorial Walk is being held at the Trail in Delphi, October 21st. It's hosted by Randy Gravitt, and all are welcome. Anybody in the area or anybody who wants to go to the area, October 21st, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Sean. Remember in the RL warrant, it says the girls didn't fight back or resist. Well, it's because they knew BG, because BG is AW's boyfriend, dad. They knew him. Well, according to BH, he never met AW. So that's another one. I thought you went deaf for a second. No. Or that I might have muted. Hey, Twisted Gemini. Good to see you. Why do people take the defense as factual? They are screwed. Sassy Cat, I try to take the pieces from all of it to come up with what is the most logical. So I am looking at things that I have questions about, not necessarily just like, oh, the defense must be totally, I don't want to say telling the truth, because I do believe they're telling the truth based on their interpretation, and their job is to defend Richard Allen. And when I went over the document, I think I said it on every single live, it is a defense motion. We cannot forget that. Their entire job is to create reasonable doubt. Now, I do have questions that cannot be answered until I can see the actual depositions or the actual interviews they did with these witnesses, because there's things that do not make sense. And in the state's response, they're not clarifying those things for me. So I'm taking bits from everything and just trying to go, there's something here, there's something missing. Yeah, we do not know the exact time of death. They didn't check out his home, speak to his family and friends. He was cleared very quickly. That is, yeah, no. He was talked to, supposedly, and then they went and later on, when they got another tip about Brad Holder, then they went and talked to his job, but they said that he clocked out at 2:45, and there was probably video of it, but nobody knows if the cops ever got the video to prove his alibi. I talked to Libby's cousin, and he told me Libby did fight back and that she heard him and was also protecting Abby. I've kind of always thought that if he does go up to the girls and pull a gun, then it would be easier to control both of them, especially at 13, 14. That would be really scary. But if you have it on one, then the other one would still have the ability to fight or to leave, potentially. I don't know. Saskia, yeah, I don't know if I believe that, because I've studied a lot of false confessions, and I know that they happen. It's factual in our judicial system that people falsely confess. That is a hurdle that the defense does have to overcome. I agree with that. But a confession is not the only thing. I can walk into a police station right now and say, hey, I killed my neighbors. And guess what? They can't prosecute me without any evidence to back up what I said. That's what I need. I need the evidence that backs up that he did it. He was right there in Delphi when Allen's searches were going down, and he had no whiff of it. But he is popular. He and wife seem lovely, don't they? He's led viewers down some holes. They talked to his wife or ex-wife, so I wouldn't say that. You guys might be talking to each other, because some of these don't make sense to me. The Feast of Bali isn't ancient and commonly celebrated by actual kindreds, though in person, to my knowledge, whoever did this can't really take heathenry seriously or have a very big community, in my opinion, which would actually kind of fall into the defense theory that there isn't a ton of them. There's just a small group. Crazy that the Odin professor gives the thumbs up on the ruins, but all these internet commenters are trying to wave them off. Nothing to see here. Right. Well, my favorite part of what he said is that it's somebody who isn't actually good at it. It's somebody who's like kind of, could certainly imagine that this was somebody's idea, that when you do human sacrifice, you carve runes and do other things like that. Yes, well, and they did. They had a profile. So this was part of what I was saying before I was interrupted earlier, too, with the tiny humans. The FBI came in pretty quickly, and Ferenczi and Murphy were part of an FBI task force, even though they were ISP and they were Terre Haute, and then got Click from Rushville. They were part of the FBI task force. So during the FBI's investigation, so this was another, talk about a triangle effect here. You have the cops on the scene originally think, oh my gosh, this looks like something weird. We need to go talk to the Purdue professor, right? You have the FBI, who now has a task force who's investigating all of this, and they have 3 of their guys investigating these people. Same people that the original cops were talking about to begin with. Now you have the FBI task force doing the same thing years later, because they were still talking to people years after this happened, and talking to Amber Holder, talking to Elvis Fields. So you have all of them, right? Look at the exact same things, and the FBI wasn't the one that was on the scene, so they would have had to have looked at pictures, and so they got the idea that there was something ritualistic about it. Now you bring in the third part of your triangle with the defense, and the defense coming in and saying, hey, we're looking at the crime scene photos, and our experts are coming to us and saying, hey, this is what we think this is. So you have a trifecta. These people are not all necessarily tied together, but they're all seeing this evidence and thinking, hey, there's something to this that we need to continue investigating. So the FBI, even though the Unified Command and the local police departments have shut down the idea that BH or his friends or the Odinistic, ritualistic, whatever you want to, whatever title you want to give that, they're all looking at it. And FBI says, we don't care if you guys already shut this down. We're going to look into it. And the FBI task force comes up and says, we think that this is who it was. And even this year, one of the people on that FBI task force goes to the prosecutor and says, hey, RA is bridge guy. And you might be right, Mike. You might be right. Question is, did they only go down these other rabbit holes because Alan did come forward earlier, wasn't investigated, and he kept quiet after that? That's a great question. But that also for me goes both ways, because they said that the only reason that they believe that the guy on the bridge in Libby's video is the guy who killed them was because that guy never came forward. And now we cannot trust that that guy never came forward. That's good to know, because religion, like I told you guys earlier, is not my forte. I believe the sticks and the posing of the girls and other things there was to frame Odinism and lead investigators in the wrong direction, adding confusion to the case. I struggle with that simply because if it is Richard Allen, why does he stay there for an additional hour when his whole thing would be to have the thrill of the kill? Why does he stay there to stage the crime scene to look like that, when you're upping your chances of being caught instead of just getting the thrill of your kill and bouncing like a Brian Koberger, allegedly? You see what I'm saying? Great question. Defense never came out with this wild story until after their client admitted killing the girls. Then they had to scramble to come up with something. That could be true. I don't know if we necessarily can prove that, because according to them, which once again, it's a who you want to believe kind of thing. If the defense is saying we were already down this path, this is where we were heading, and Richard didn't even know anything about it at the time. Hi, Scotty Skulls. This trial is over. The defense has created a split publicly. I think so. The only way the prosecutor is going to be, they have a huge hill to climb, because they're going to have to show that they did look into all of these things and that they actually nipped every one of them and what their end was. You see, and here's another theory, that Richard was part of it, but well, I think they did remember, and they did find him. They did find him. They found him right after they were deposed, ironically. That's part of my point, Sassy Cat, is they say that the only reason that they're saying it's the same guy is because nobody admitted to being there. And then you have a tip who was buried for 5.5 years of a guy who says, I was wearing this and I was there. Because the prosecution does make mistakes. This would be why so many innocent people in prison. I hope if you were ever on a jury, you do. Hold on. I went to a second comment. Look at both sides and not assume defense attorneys are always lying. Well, yeah, because I am very pro prosecutor, and I am very pro law enforcement. My family's from law enforcement, but I also know that there are bad seeds in anything and everything we do. No, I don't think he was hallucinating about being at the bridge. I think that there's something with the timing of it, though. There's something with the timing of it. If he was there earlier and there's a group of girls, you're going to have to be able to prove that he was the one on the bridge from 1:30 to 3:30, and not just in Dan Doolin's statement where he says, yeah, I met him at the grocery store, and now I don't even know where that interview went. So Bianca, one thing that I saw, and I've never seen this proven, was people years ago were asking if BH was actually spending the weekend at Ron Logan's house. People were asking that years ago. Nobody's ever said, like, proven yes he was, no he wasn't. I've never seen anything one way or the other, but it's an interesting comment if they're connected, because people were asking that before. A lot of people went down the Pat Brown thought too. Had anything to do with Pat was going to counseling because of walking up on the bodies and seeing what he saw. Yeah. That's what I want to do. I want to go through, maybe we can do it tomorrow. I want to go through the press conferences. And then I have some clips that I've pulled from a few of the like interviews. And if you guys have any that you think are important, feel free to email them to me at criminality187@gmail, because I want to go through and just kind of pull out just the important pieces, go through the press conferences, go through the important pieces of what has been said during like some of these documentaries and some of these interviews, and how it pertains to the crime scene, what they have, their forensic evidence, and, you know, kind of put it with everything we're looking at now and see what we come up with. I've been going through all the old documents, as you guys know. Rockways, that's how I feel about it. There's no way that somebody's going to be there to to set that up and stay there and risk being caught in order for somebody else to take the fall. Oh, me either. Me either. I hope it's televised. I hope that they put it. I hope that there's cameras in there. The pagan priest probably still has some of her blood, and the sacrificial knife is almost as certain to have significant value to him. He probably has it. Well, I know that if you look at like the Facebook accounts of the people that they're talking about, there is, they make a lot of their own knives. That's good. I think that's why I'm stuck here and I can't leave. Oh, absolutely. Well, because I try to go all different directions with this and see, you know, what is feasible and what isn't. And I need answers. I have so many questions. I am not dead set one way or the other. I just have so many questions. That Dan Doolin stood there at the press conference and never made the connection to the guy he interviewed. How is that possible? So this guy he interviews says, yeah, I was totally on the bridge and I was wearing jeans and my boots and my blue jacket. And Dan Doolin just goes, yeah, I'd never heard that guy before. Like, how did he not come forward and say, hey, some dude called me and I met with him and this is what he said? What? Yeah. But he could have a very solid alibi, and it may not necessarily be him. It may be people he's connected to. That's right. We don't. The biggest question I had. So when Bob Motta was on the other day, you know, he was talking about like the probable cause affidavit and how the prosecution is going to put their best foot forward, and you know their biggest pieces of evidence, they're going to put that in the PCA because they want to have basically the public bias on like, this is what we have and that we want you guys all to believe that we have the right guy. But on the flip side of that, there's so much investigation happening after the PCA that I will still to this day say that is not all the evidence that the prosecutors have is not going to be in the PCA because they're still processing everything. If you think about the date that the search warrant for Richard Allen's house and the PCA for Richard Allen's arrest came out, they would not have had all the results of everything that they were testing. Everything that they took from his house, all the electronics, the clothes, you know, there was the rumors about them digging up the backyard and looking for animal remains. I mean, there was so much stuff. We wouldn't have had all of that during the PCA. So we know that the prosecution would have more evidence. My issue now, and we can take little bits and pieces because that's what the defense is doing, is only the little bits and pieces. And we need the whole thing of these depositions, because if you take the bits and pieces the defense puts in to that memorandum, the law enforcement is saying as of August of 2023, we have no DNA connecting him. We have nothing on electronics connecting him. We have nothing connecting him to Odinism or anything like that. If that's the entirety of their statement, that's an issue, because now we do know the quote unquote additional prosecutor case or lack thereof. But we got to go back to the fact that that's a defense document. It's a defense document, and they're able to pick and choose the pieces of those depositions they want to put in that document. We don't have the entire thing. To make a determination, we would need all of it. RA didn't say what he was wearing in 2017, but why would he? He was just a witness. In 2022, he said it would have been a black or blue coat. How could Liggett say it was blue when, hello, black? You have to remember, Americans did this. The crime scene has all the hallmarks of a witchcraft, blood, animal sacrifice, with some onanism tossed in for good measure. That's why I'm like, it's like people who think they're odinous or are taking bits and pieces of different things and creating their own religion / cult / mini group of people. Well, there's still a gag order. They can't talk to the media. They just did it. They went about it a different way. It's the same as Idaho case. I constantly say that's exactly what the defense is doing. This is their only way to get their point across. But here's the thing. The PCA comes out and it's the prosecution's story. How does the defense ever get to put their story out there? They have to do it in motions. They have to do it in motion filings. That's the only way to do it. Right. I agree. Vanessa, the whole reason I think that people are sucked into this kind of case when they put these gag orders and they put, these restrictions on what they're going to tell the public and not tell the public, it leads people to have to fill in the blanks themselves. And human nature is that we will figure it out based on our own history, our own lives, the lives that we've led. We'll fill it in with what we think and what we know. And then everything becomes so convoluted. That's why nobody knows like heads or tails of certain things. And that's why that memorandum became such a huge thing when it was released. Because it gave information that the public has been yearning for. Wonder how they can prove about the stick being cut, though. It's ridiculous. They didn't take the sticks as evidence right away. I thought that too. And who's to say somebody else out there didn't cut down anything at one point or another and just leave that? You know what I mean? Like that's silly to me. They made all these runes out of sticks and they used one stick that was cut. Just one. That's silly to me. Yep, the signature hats. Why frame the Odinist? They're like, yeah, let's get those Odinists. Yes, he is a Freemason. He posts about being a Freemason and bringing his children into the Masons. That's exactly why. And they need transparency. The prosecution that does not bode well for the prosecution to say we do not want cameras in here, especially after the defense has done, in my opinion, a good job changing the public into thinking. We already did. A lot of us already thought there was a lot of corruption going on there. And then the memorandum comes out and it either solidifies what certain people already thought or it makes other people even question it. And now the prosecutor's like, nope, we don't want transparency. We don't want people to see. It wouldn't be out of the norm. And also that was a big thing that with all the animal hair and stuff that was supposedly found. A lot of people have always thought like why couldn't it have been horses? Right. Yep, I agree. There was rumors of someone trying to buy land there. Is it possible they had someone go and clear trees or mark property lines? That would explain clean cut trees, maybe. Not sure. I honestly, Johnny, I couldn't answer that with an honest answer. I know that Ron Logan was very adamant about not having people on his property that didn't belong there back at that time. So, but I mean, he also had a lot of property. Think of the YouTubers that take clips of McClellan, clips of Shane Evans, etc., and make a real mountain out of word sentences. Their walk, of course, he doesn't want cameras. Yeah, but at the time of trial, I always understand as much as I don't like it, because I still think that we should have cameras all the time. That's just my belief. I think there should be absolute transparency in our judicial system. But all of those things, for a prosecutor, in my opinion, would make it so that they no cameras at pretrial motions, hearings, and evidentiary hearings, and all of that. But once trial happens, I don't. This is my honest opinion. I absolutely believe that we need the transparency in courts. I don't even think it should be a question. How many times do you guys hear in these cases how much time is wasted going back and forth in the courtroom about whether there should be cameras or not? If it's just set in stone, yeah, we're going to have transparency because the public, our taxpayers, have a right to know what's happening. So, BH. I cannot imagine what the prosecution is thinking by keeping cameras out. It's as if that's exactly it. That is what they're going to portray to the public. It is people are going to go, wait a minute. People are saying you guys are shady, and now you guys want to hide everything. Yeah, you are shady, and they're going to be persecuted for that. Yep, I absolutely believe that, which is what the whole Constitution is. It's the whole reason we have everything that we have, is so that we can everybody can be governed by everybody else. That's the whole point. Well, I think that even without the defense, and whether you think it's a circus, I think that transparency is important regardless. So people are going to speculate now, yeah, because of that document. I absolutely agree. But there are going to be people who are already like, because there's tons of us over the years, you know this, that have thought, what the hell is going on with law enforcement in Delphi? What the hell's going on with the ISP? Why is this such a disaster? I think that for me personally, even without the memorandum, I would have been like, why the hell are you guys trying to keep cameras out? Because I've always felt like there was something shady going on. Even Eric Williams mentioned seeing strange setting and bones near crime location while he was searching. There was a lot of people who talked about like there was animal bones and that the place was just weird. I've never seen that, so I've heard people say it, but to have it stated factually, I can't say. Yeah. Shady is just getting started. All right, I'm going to wrap it up for today. I'm going to go make some dinner for the fam. Thank you guys for being here and listening, and just the couple things that I have thought were really important when before I came on here, like with the stuff with like the Click interview, the stuff from like this additional information supplemental. I don't know. I don't know. I still think that there's something, that freaking professor now saying, yeah, could have certainly been runes. So I don't know. I'm left with so many questions, you guys. I'm still left with so many questions that I just can't let it go. I will say that Bob, when he was here on Saturday, said that I was kind of crazy for thinking that we were going to have a trial in January. And one of the other documents that we didn't actually go over today talks about the defense states that they still have 30 to 40 depositions they would like to do, which to me, if that's the case, then we're definitely not going to have a trial in January. And I was really hoping we were, but we'll see. We're not done yet. We're not done yet. But thank you guys. As always, I absolutely appreciate each and every single one of you. I know that you guys have 1,000 other places that you could spend your time, and you choose to spend your time with me. It's humbling. I swear, I appreciate each and every single one of you and all of your opinions and your thoughts. And I like sharing them and working together to try to figure out what we think is right and wrong and what should happen, and, you know, the who's who and the what's what of everything. So I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you taking the time on this Tuesday evening, maybe even Wednesday morning-ish, middle of the night-ish for somebody, for some people. But I appreciate you guys. I am going to be back tomorrow. I'm actually probably going to pull up, if you guys want, I'm probably going to do it. Whether you guys want to or not, if you want, then you guys can show up. I want to go through the old press conferences and the old clips. If you have any clips that you think are imperative, please feel free to send me them via my email. Criminality187@gmail.com, and I'll see you guys tomorrow afternoon. Have a good one.